Good morning on what has been an historic day in American politics and indeed the world, where a former US president has faced court for the first time on criminal charges, 34 of them in relation to allegations of business fraud. And we are taking you inside the President Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, where he is about to address the masses. With us here at the moment, political editor Charles Croucher, where, Charles, we've seen the legal process unfold in the last 6 hours. This will be the election process, the politics behind what we've seen unfold, playing right into Donald Trump's narrative.
Yeah, the law side happened in New York, but the spotlight now on the Sunshine State. And on that ballroom at Mar-a-Lago, it is where hundreds of Donald Trump's closest supporters, where you get to see any members of his family, but you assume some of his family, and soon the president will be. He arrived back at his Mar-a-Lago resort as part of that 11-car convoy that he's been travelling around in a short time ago. He is expected to address the crowds there and effectively outline what his response will be. This is the first time he has heard about all 34 of the felony charges he faces, Class C felonies. Look, the combined possible jail time that comes with them is up over 100 years. No one expects that. Realistically, it would be closer to 4 years, and that's if it's not pled down or if it's not pled at all. Of course, as all this plays out, the one thing to remind everyone and to keep in mind is that indictment and even charges do not equal guilt. There is a long legal process that will play out. There is a long political process that will play out as well. And that is what is going to begin in this gold-plated room in the middle of Mar-a-Lago with the flags ready for the president.
And we've heard so much about the energy in this room at the moment. Even 6 hours ago, there was a buzz. There were people talking. You can see that the campaign slogans of Trump 2024 in that room, the US flags. How this plays out now will be very much like an election-style call to the masses. What we are very interested to see is if the Trump family members will be there, Melania, Ivanka, the sons as well, in light of the fact that they have been in the background effectively, actually not on the stage at all with him. He travelled to New York all by himself. So whether he stands there with the support of his family, who we know want to pull back from all this, he wants to move forward.
And you think our election campaigns are long. I mean, we're 19 months away from the vote for the next president, but this is all part of it. There are going to be two stories now that are intertwined. The legal challenges of the former president and the campaign that will run. Now, he arrived back in Florida from New York, took the short car trip with his motorcade from the airport to his home, lining the streets with those supporters. They come from an area called the Villages there. This is obviously known as the president's home. The Secret Service make that very clear, and Donald Trump makes it very clear as well as the price tag to get a round of golf there or stay the night to have a function there. But those supporters are out lining. They were making it clear they supported the president when he made this journey. Earlier, he had landed in his Trump emblazoned plane and touched down at the airport in Florida. He had made the 2.5-hour or so flight from New York. That's the plane there touching down. This is back in his own territory, really in his own comfort zone. He made the short trip down the stairs as well. Look, wearing that red tie we've become so familiar, his body language throughout, and you know, you can always only read so much of this, has been pretty low key. A fist pump in New York, a raised hand, but it's all been pretty relaxed. He also, while on the plane, or indeed on the tarmac, took a phone call, and it's the first we've heard. It was a public phone call that was effectively an emergency prayer call. He was told there is a prayer army that are out there supporting him. He praised the faith and religious leaders. He also said, we're losing our religion and the country is falling apart. But he said that we've fought so hard and we have to keep fighting because that's the way we keep winning. Here is part of that call.
As you know, we're going through a fake investigation. That's what it is, by radical left people that I believe actually have to hate our country. But we're winning. We had a great day today, actually, because it turned out to be a sham, and it's turning out to be that. And we have others down the line, but we've been winning them for 8 years now, ever since we came down the golden escalator, as they call it, at Trump Tower. But one thing that I've always remained solid on, that is our faith, our religion, our Christianity, our beautiful Christianity. And the other thing, I've remained loyal, and they've remained loyal to me, are the people on this line. Incredible people, the most respected people I know. There can be no greater calling than what you do and what you've done. And one of the things I think, and I really believe is, and perhaps the main thing that our country needs again is religion. We have to have religion. We're losing our religion in our country, and that's what's happening to our country, because I don't think it's ever been so bad. 3 years ago, we had something very special, and now we have something that's falling apart.
That was the prayer call that Donald Trump made as he was on the flight touching down in Florida. It was a real tap into the Bible Belt of America, talking about the religion, the faith, and that very much unique middle America where they remain sort of benign to what's going on at the moment. He needs that support if he wants to make this campaign to run and return to the White House still successful. So he was very measured in how he spoke there, and we saw some very conservative body language from him in court. And as he got off the plane, it's very different to what we're seeing, what he's writing on social media at the moment. He has his own webpage that we'll bring it up now. It's called Truth, where he effectively tweets different messages. The biography to the top of this is, he writes, "They're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way." They're the words at the top there. So very much tapping into the fear of America, a divided and somewhat scared nation about what's about to unfold in the next couple of months with this court case, and what's happening at the moment in terms of the economy and how people are feeling. Further down, he's written a little bit more about what's unfolded and what we've seen play out in the last couple of hours. Just lifted off for Palm Beach, Florida. We'll be delivering remarks tonight at Mar-a-Lago at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. So we're looking at about 15 minutes time for us here. The hearing was shocking to many, that they had no surprises and therefore no case. Virtually every legal pundit has said that there is no case here and there was nothing done illegally. No surprise in what he's written there, because that was very much the narrative from Trump's camp all along, that there's nothing to see here, there's no evidence with this case. He also wrote a little bit and attacked Alvin Bragg, the DA, saying that Alvin Bragg shut down New York City, brought in 38,000 NYPD officers, and will spend an estimated $200 million of New York City funds for a total legal cost of $130,000. On top of that, the Ninth Circuit Court just awarded me $122,000, over $500,000 already awarded. So again, tapping into this fear in America and this real concern about the economy, what's being wasted at the moment on a case that effectively, according to Donald Trump, is going to go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, there are two problems, contrasting messages there. The top message, which is the campaign message, right? I am defending you. That's what he said to his supporters. He said, here's the retribution, effectively, that this big swamp or whatever he's trying to create, boogeyman out there is coming for regular Americans, and he is the protection. And then those messages, which is very much that they're coming for me. Yeah. So you're seeing the contrast there. Donald Trump was at his effective best, particularly in that 2016 campaign, when he was articulating the grievances of everyday Americans. What has changed in his campaign style and changed in the president, particularly in 2020, but since then, is that he's now articulating his own grievances, and that hasn't won him as many elections, or indeed any elections since then. So that's the challenge. You can see the two sides of him working there. The other thing we should mention, and because we're waiting on the bottom right of your screen, you can see that box, waiting for Donald Trump. This is just one of the possible indictments for Donald Trump. There are 4
and probably
in total.
The more less significant one.
Definitely the least significant, yes, and probably the weakest case against him. The other 3, the January 6th committee, which is looking into, of course, all the events that took place at the Congress on January 6th, and then you go to the serious one in Georgia, where he called Brad Raffensperger, who is the Secretary of State, and said we need to find 11,780 votes. That is one more than he was behind Joe Biden to win the state.
So allegations of electoral fraud.
Yeah, that vote, that call is recorded. It would be a difficult one to dispute. And then the most recent charge, which is with the documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago, an obstruction of justice charge. So there are more of these coming down the pipeline by the looks of it. Again, indictments, charges do not equate to guilt. There is still a legal process. But this is the president trying to get on the front foot. These are going to come at him the whole way through the election cycle. And you mentioned the prayer call. You mentioned Middle America. The first vote for the Republicans is at Iowa. And that's right in the middle of that, where the president didn't do particularly well in 2016, but where he will need to do well this time around, just to show the rest of the Republican Party and show the rest of America that he's still the top dog in the Republican Party. So that was calculated. This has always been a group that supported him, but a very calculated first call directed at that small state of Iowa, because they're the ones he needs first.
We've spoken about how he is definitely the front runner for the Republicans in terms of a candidate, but he needs to capture the attention of America again to make people care about him, and this is what he's trying to tap into at the moment. I don't know, we are seeing some people
like
arrive
Donald
at the
Trump
moment.
Jr. at the front of that list with Kimberly Guilfoyle, his wife. Behind is Tiffany Trump, who we don't usually see a whole lot of, and then Eric Trump. So that's three of the president's children. Then Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a congresswoman, a senior Republican congresswoman now. She is from Georgia. She has become very much the face of the Republican Party and was in New York at the trial, which means we haven't seen Barron, that is the youngest Trump child. That's not entirely unusual. He is the youngest one who's kept out of it. But the person we haven't seen is Ivanka or Jared Kushner, who has been with her father every step of the way. Along the way, was in the White House, was part of The Apprentice when that was the show, was one of the advisors there, and has very much taken a step back from the political.